We got a great guest for you guys. Tezlyn Figaro is a political commentator and host of Straight Shot No Chaser podcast. I already like it. I mean, that's an awesome name. It's, by the way, on the Black Effect Podcast Network, founded by, Charlemagne the God. That's on iHeart Media. I'm familiar with his work, as is nearly everyone on the planet. Tezlyn also is a senior political policy and media consultant for Benjamin Crump, who represents so many families, unfortunately, that have been the victims of police violence in this country. And she's also a senior advisor for the George Floyd Foundation. Tezlyn, welcome to TYT.
Thank you so much for being here. Big fan of your work.
Oh, thank you so much. So Tezlyn, you're a political commentator, so I want to dive right into the Biden campaign or Biden administration these days. So right now they're working on a couple of things, but the main one is a COVID relief bill, and it looks like one of the things they're going to do is take the $15 minimum wage out of the bill. That's at least what Biden has suggested. What's your take on that?
Yeah, my take is that, those who have advocated for $15 an hour, which we know is progressives, I don't even think it's really just even a progressive. I think it's the issue of just anybody who is poor or even working class that just believes that the floor should be raised across the board, not even just on the federal level, but on the state level. So if President Joe Biden removes this from the bill, which we understand why there's issue. One, they say it shouldn't be wrapped up in a COVID bill. It should be separately, but regardless of whether they wrap it in the bill or take it out the bill, I do believe that it is on us, the people, to continue to push. And as for the policies that we demanded, let's just be honest about it. Progressives held their nose to vote for President Joe Biden. We cannot ignore that a coalition of many people, one, being the Black community, whether they were moderate or progressive, because breaking news, there are Black folks who are progressive and moderate, believe it or not. But then you have the core of the progressive movement of all colors, all backgrounds, that had to vote for Joe Biden in order for him to win. So there's this idea that progressive voices don't necessarily have to be heard, and which is just simply not true. You cannot win the presidency of the United States without having the progressive voice a part of that. And so those voters are owed, something for their policy as well. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Joe Biden was very clear and said that he does not feel he has to bend the knee, if you will, to the progressive movement. So it's really going to take progressives on the ground, movement leaders, not necessarily elected politicians, but movement leaders to continue to what I call push the line.
Yeah, and obviously the way you do that is through what folks used to say is good trouble. Right, and so let's talk about good trouble a little bit. So let's say that either it's in the COVID relief bill or standalone, and they get it to the Senate, which is not an issue. It's passed the House many times. It certainly will. I happen to think Pelosi passes it because she knows the Senate will kill it, and she just wants the credit without actually doing it. But it doesn't matter. She passes it. She gets the credit. I'm happy to give that credit. But once it gets to the Senate, what happens, Tezlyn, if Manchin and Sinema go, no, the voters of West Virginia and Arizona don't want higher wages, which is an obvious, preposterous lie. But that's the kind of stuff they say, and the mainstream media eats it up, and they go, oh no, people in West Virginia are conservative. They like to punch themselves in the face and want lower wages, and Manchin's representing them. Okay, so what do progressives do at that point?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's no longer about this idea of unity. It's not happening. It's not me not being optimistic or not being a positive person. It's just speaking on how things are and not how they should be. And how things are is Republicans are going to continue to do what Republicans do. At this stage of the game, it's all about, they used to have this saying, I don't chase them, I replace them. That's the same ideology we have to have. Chasing, running around, begging Republicans to get on our side or moderates to see things our way. It's over with. This is about 2022. Lindsey Graham just said flat out, he flipped like a mattress. 1 minute he said he was over Trump, and then just this past weekend he said, we need Trump in order to win 2022. Republicans have always organized towards the big prize, the big picture, whether that's through voter suppression, which has obviously enabled them, but also just pushing the line and being in a consensus. And so this has to come down to 2022. Who are we organizing in these seats? Who is being primaried? And if that means primarying people like Manchin, who I believe, well, let me say, let's see how he plays this game. Because for right now, me personally, I don't know if he's really on the Democrat side or he's using it as an opportunity to wield power between the two. But at the end of the day, progressives have to figure out who are they going to run in these seats to take these folks places. I'm done asking folks to get on board. I'm done waiting on people who are 70 and 80 years old to finally decide to see things how I see things. It's just simply not gonna happen. People have to be primaried and we have to move people in those seats. And if Joe Biden does not, and I keep saying this repeatedly, if he does not, this administration does not pass progressive policies, they will lose in 2022. You will not have Trump on the ballot, so the fear factor will no longer be there for a lot of folks. It's only gonna come down to policy. So it's up to him. Democrats either decide they want to retain power and gain more or lose. It's really their choice.
Right. Well, as we head down that path, first of all, let me note that not only do I agree with you, what you're saying is indisputable. They keep saying, unify with Manchin, and Manchin says no to minimum wage increase. Okay, well, how are we going to unify? They never clarify. And if they clarified, of course, what the media means is you must bow your head as a progressive, and you must do whatever Manchin tells you to do. Well, why the hell would I do that? I mean, what a privileged, elitist, ridiculous assumption. Now, let's turn to another issue. Obviously, you work as a senior advisor to the George Floyd Foundation, criminal justice reform. Now, there's debate about whether defund the police is the right framing, but I wish that's all the debate was about. The reality is, yes, but when we get to the actual substantive issues like ending private prisons, in decriminalizing or legalizing marijuana instantly, letting folks who are in jail for possession out, real cultural reform of policing, all these things. Tezlyn, what's your sense? Are they actually going to do any of them? And then if they don't do any of them, what the hell did we elect them for?
Absolutely. Well, you're absolutely right when you say that criminal justice is not just about, reallocating funds to the police department. It is a wide range of things. When we talk about the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, it covers things like qualified immunity so that police officers can be held accountable. It talks about things like banning chokeholds. When we talk about racial justice and racial justice reform, there's things that are much more deeper than, the conditions of prisons and how are inmates treated. Folks who would honestly, the First Step Act covered a lot of this as well when we talked about chaining women, to hospital beds while they were giving childbirth. But there's so many more issues, besides just racial justice. When we talk about, racial inequities and the wealth gap between black folks and the racial wealth gap. So what should happen, to answer your question, is there has to be consequences and repercussions, period. There is no unity. You're not going to hear the political pundits talk about that. You're not going to hear the politicians talk about that because we have to they have to do this talking point of making everybody feel inclusive. I think those talking points have only served to allow people to have more mistrust, more games. This good cop, bad cop thing that McConnell is doing and Lindsey Graham is doing is amateur theater at its best. This has to be consequences and repercussions, period, end of the day. If people do not move with the will of the people, not just the Biden administration, but everyone under him, then they need to be primaried and they need to be replaced. That's it, end of discussion. And I can say that because I'm not looking for donors and I'm not looking for voters. So it allows people like you and I to make these very clear demands so that the folks get out there and actually do the work.
100%. If you had to prioritize, I know it's tough because there's so many important issues. I mean, off the top of my head, I just listed 4 there that are so important. But if you had to prioritize 2 or 3 issues on criminal justice reform that Democrats must do, what would you say those are?
What certainly qualified immunity is important. Police officers have to be held accountable for the things that they do. It can't just be on the backs of the taxpayers. It's also important that police officers don't get an opportunity to just go to another city and be able to be a police officer. It's important that we have a database, they can recognize who these folks are. I know that there's a lot of talk about diversity training and teaching folks, and to be honest with you, I don't know if that works. Joe Biden focuses on the soul of America. I say that's God's business. We have to focus on the substance. So I'm not a big believer in changing folks' soul. I feel if people are racist, they're racist. The only thing that I push is there should be a consequence for your racism. So I'm all about anything that ties a consequence to your actions, not so much the feel good, but with the substance.
Yes, I hear that 1,000%. But Tezlyn, you're amazing. I hope you come back and let's do this more often.
Thank you so much. Blessings to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.